actually rebuild these carburetors using this rebuild kit that I got from eBay. Ton of stuff in here. We've got the base needle gaskets, the top throttle slide gaskets, the throttle slides, the adjustment screws, float needle valves, C-clips,
emulsifier
float needle seat, idle jets, 2 sets of main jets, adjustment screw springs, 3 different size O-rings. Let's rebuild these carbs. Look at the difference between the new and the old float needles. This is why you rebuild your carburetors, guys. This one on the right, that's the reason why the bowls were overflowing, because that was not sealing. This new nice pointy one should seal up great. Just noticed something. The idle jets included in this kit, they do thread in, but they're quite a bit shorter, as you can see. So I'm going to use the original ones. I've already cleaned these out. Using a 1.10 millimeter drill bit, I found out that 2 of these main jets included in the kit are 110, and the rest are 100 or 105, but the 110 drill bit does not fit. It almost fits in this one, and it almost fits in this one, so I'm going to just not use these 4 because these seem pretty small. And then I'm going to just hold on to this drill bit with some pliers and quickly run it through these main jets. These are 110 main jets now. Then I'll spray some carb cleaner through these, some air through them, and now these 110 main jets are ready to go into the carbs. After we put these O-rings on them, of course. Alright, ready to go in. I just pulled one of the throttle slides out, and to my surprise, the throttle needle is set all the way down in the leanest position, and it totally makes sense now why this bike had such a bad mid-range, low-end bog.
Emulsifier too.
Oh, it's got a good bit of power now. Now I'm going to reinstall the new needle with the new C-clip. I'm going to put this one, put it back in the 4th down from the top. So not the middle one, but slightly richer because I am running pod filters on this bike. Okay, now let's see about replacing these little
Emulsifier tube.
I think we need to tap it out from the top here. Oh, there it is. Okay, so there's that old one. Let's go ahead and compare it to the new one. Definitely a little bit different. Inside diameter on this one's bigger than this one, has slight convex on the end, but I'm gonna put the new ones in. I think they just go in like that. Yep, that's it. That's all it is. New gasket. Man, that is a real pain to mess with that. I just gotta do it 3 more times. Yay, inline 4. Woo! Okay, I've got all of the new throttle needles and tubes in. We're all good there. Only took about an hour. And now it's time to check the float height. I got my multimeter set to 22 millimeters. That's what the float height should be. You want the tab of the float to just barely be touching the top of the needle. So that's way off, wow. So we're gonna have to bend the tab quite a bit. All right, put it back in. That is perfect. So now I just have to do that to the rest of them. The float heights are set perfectly to 22 millimeters. Now I'm gonna get the new adjustment screws in here. So before I put the new screw in, I'm gonna go ahead and shoot some air through there. So make sure the passageway is clear. Here's the new adjustment screw with the new spring. Let's go ahead and get that in there. I'm gonna go ahead and lightly seat these like that. All right, and then half, 1, 1.5 turns out. 1, 1.5. There's all the adjustment screws. Nice. Now I can get the new bowl gaskets on. These ones are all crusty and dried up anyway. That's no wonder it was leaking. So these round gaskets are kind of a pain to get them to stay in there. Well, I guess I should put the jets in first. Alright, all the main jets are installed. I'm gonna try some of this Weldwood contact cement. Spread a thin layer inside there, inside the groove there, and then wipe off the excess. And then also a thin layer on the O-rings themselves. And then I'm just gonna let that sit. See, all these two, the gaskets are still good. These look like the original ones and they're not ripped or anything, so I am using these because these new ones are such a pain to get in. It's been about 10 minutes. I think the contact cement is set up enough yet. Hopefully it sticks. So I guess that's the key. Rubber cement holds those in place. Just make sure you get all the excess. See, like that, this little piece here, that could certainly clog up the idle jet. So I want to make sure I get all the extra rubber cement out of here. Now we can put it back on the carburetor. Okay, there we go. Now there's only a couple things left to do. Put the fuel lines back on, number 1. That should keep the hose from kinking. That's cold. That cylinder's cold. Huh, no gas going to these 2 carburetors. Well, that's why. With that filter in there, the hose is pinched and it's not letting gas get through. So we can go ahead and put this guy back in place. I put a longer hose on the other side and I can always cut the excess off of that if I need to. Half an hour later, I got the fuel lines on the fuel inlets. I don't know why they made it like almost impossible to do that. And there's also no room for hose clamps. So what I'm doing is taking some thin steel wire, go around the hose there like that, then pull it up so that each side is even. And then just start twisting that wire till it's nice and tight. Just don't twist it too tight or it'll just snap that wire and then you'll have to restart the whole thing. So I feel a lot better about that. I've got two nice little wires holding on those fuel lines to the inlets. There's just one last thing to do on these carburetors and then they are mint. And that is to bench sync them. The process of bench syncing is simply to make sure that each throttle slide is set correctly. As you can see, the carburetors have adjustment screws to adjust the height of each individual throttle slide. So to make sure they're all the same gap, we're going to tighten down the idle adjustment screw right here and open up those slides about as much as we can right there. Then I'm going to take a drill bit. This is an 1/8 inch drill bit. And it fits pretty loosely under the throttle slide. So then I'm going to loosen the idle adjustment screw until it tightens down on that drill bit with just a little bit of drag. Just like that. And then we'll go to the other ones and check and make sure they all have the same amount of drag. This one all the way on the left is definitely set too low. So the way to adjust it, use the adjusting bolt right here. And then you turn that screw counterclockwise to make the gap bigger or clockwise to make the gap smaller. Okay, now the carbs are perfectly bench synchronized. And now this is not a replacement for vacuum synchronization, which you do with the engine running and a vacuum synchronizing gauge like this. This is just to get you in the ballpark. That is about all you can do to these carburetors. I think I have covered everything. There's only one thing left to do. That is compression test. This is going to tell me how the engine is operating. If we need to do any engine work, now's the time to do it. So let's get back to the bike and do this part. All right, start with cylinder number 1. I'm going to pull out all these spark plugs. If it's anything under like 120, I think I'm going to need to do some work to this engine. So hopefully it's not. Only one way to find out. So 130. Not terrible, not great. Next, I'm going to take a little bit of motor oil and then a piece of heat shrink tubing with my finger over the end, like that straw trick we all know and love, down into the cylinder and drop that oil in there. Then I'm going to do that same compression test again and see if that affects the reading at all. If it does affect the reading, then that most likely means that we have piston ring compression issues. Specifically, the top piston ring is not sealing correctly. If this gives me a different reading. Looks like that definitely did change the reading a little bit. Now we're at about 140. So yeah, I would say the piston rings aren't sealing up that great. Might not be enough to cause concern, but definitely worth noting. On to cylinder number 2. And looks like we got about the same, which is good. Want consistency. That one is reading at 130 as well. I'm going to do that same little oil trick on cylinder 2 as well. Exact same result as the first time. We got 150. About the same, 130. And now we're on to the 4th and final cylinder. About 140 on that one. That's pretty close to 160. Well guys, that's going to be it for this episode of the CB500 Cafe Racer build. I've got the carburetors completely rebuilt, and if you want to see the initial cleaning of those carbs, you can check this video here or down in the description. And then I also did a compression test, and this engine's been sitting for a while. I rode it around a little bit recently, but probably not enough to get those piston rings sealing up completely. So I think after more and more riding and maybe even some liquid fuel treatment, I think this engine could get running really good. I don't think it's worth tearing the whole engine apart just to gain like an extra 10 or 20 psi of compression. In the next video, I think I'm gonna rebuild the front forks, get those up to spec, and then we'll be moving right along with the wheels also coming up soon. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss out on the next episodes on this Cafe Racer build. I'm getting super excited about it. I really want to run this thing and ride it with the new carburetor settings. I have a feeling it's going to run so much better than before. We'll get this thing back on the road very soon. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time. Peace.